Tori Petry, Twentyman and Mike O'Hara here in Allen Park, just ahead of the start of free agency. Gentlemen, we are in the tampering period right now, so we're going to talk a little bit of free agency preview, but keep in mind we are only talking about the moves that have been made official by the team. We are in the tampering period, so there are reports out there, but we are only discussing on this stream today the reports that have been made official by the team. So let's back up a couple of days to some news that happened just before the weekend, the release of TJ Lang, and then later on, earlier this week, the release of Nevin Lawson. Why do you think those were made by the team?
Well, TJ Lang, I think, was probably health and maybe contract a little bit, but probably health. And what he put out on Twitter, just sort of a glowing review of his time in Detroit, the franchise itself, and what he thinks going forward. It was a class move by him. And then Nevin Lawson, of course, a 5-year player, 4-year starter. I personally thought he was a good guy here in Detroit.
Yeah, he was a good guy, but I think this also stems all the way back to the team releasing Glover Quinn as well. And I think two things I take from it is they want to get a little bit younger, and I think they're looking for playmakers. And while I'm with you, Mike, Nevin Lawson, tough guy, had a streak of games where I think Pro Football Focus came out where a receiver didn't have over 75 yards on him for something like 49 straight games or something like that. But the flip side of it was, he didn't make a lot of those big playmaking plays, 54 starts, no interceptions, And I think Bob Quinn talked after the season is he's looking for playmakers on both sides of the ball. And so, I think with some of those moves, the Lions are looking to get younger, and they're looking to add a few more, guys that can get their hands on the footballs and make some of those playmaking plays.
Yeah, I think Quinn said also at the season ticket holders summit, we want people who can take the ball away. That's not Nevin's strength.
Well, inevitably, those moves also save the Lions some money, as cutting players usually does. Certainly should come into play as free agency begins to roll on here.
Well, I don't have $35 million, but I always found out that money's no good when it's in your pocket. It's only good when you take it out and spend it. Unfortunately, I do a lot of that too, but I agree with that. It's sort of... we'll see what they do with it. If everything we hear and all that, it looks like they're going to make some big moves, but we'll find out. Amendola was a start.
Sure. Well, Amendola is one that we are going to talk about because it has been made official by the team. Now, Amendola was cut by his former team, so he was free to sign with whoever he pleased before the opening of the new league year. So the Lions signed him on Monday. The Lions added a receiver who really fills that slot position in Amendola.
Well, it fits a need. Obviously, it was kind of something that they lacked in their offense when they traded Golden Tate. And with Amendola, look, he's familiar with Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn. They spent time in New England together. We talked on the phone with Amendola, and he said, look, I think one of the attractive things about coming here was reuniting with Matt Patricia, a guy he really respected, the energy he brought to the room, some of the other things he talked about. But look, he's a guy who caught 59 passes last year in the slot. He says he's in terrific shape, fastest he's ever been at 33 years old. He fits a need. Look, he separates, he catches the ball in the slot, he's crafty in there, he knows how to get open, he's done it a long time, so it's a good fit with Kenny Galladay and Marv Jones Jr.
And I like the fact that he only had 2 drops last year. He's been sure-handed his whole career, and he upped his game in the playoffs. He averaged more catches in the playoffs than he did in the regular season, which means the pressure was on and he performed.
On Monday, we did a little bit of an Instagram Q&A where you guys submitted questions into Instagram about the free agents that the Lions signed. Mondays was obviously about Danny Amendola. And a question that I got often was, will Amendola fill Golden Tate's role? Now, he is a slot receiver, but he's a little bit of a different guy than Golden Tate. Golden Tate's strength was really yards after the catch. Not as much Amendola's strength. So what does Amendola bring to the table?
Well, I think if you look at some of the next-gen stats and some of those things that people like to look at that are becoming popular along the league, he separates from defenders. He did so at a better clip than Golden Tate did, but as you pointed out, he's not going to be a guy that is elusive, makes a lot of guys miss. So I think what his strength is he's crafty inside. He's going to be able to get open. He knows how to kind of sit down and find a spot in zone coverage, but in man coverage, he's proven he can kind of separate with that speed and shiftiness. And so I think that's what he brings. He brings a guy that can get open, be kind of a security blanket type guy, different player than Golden Tate, but effective nonetheless.
Well, I like old gen stats, if that's okay with you guys, and I think the light is he's tough, he plays a lot, he's been around a long time, and he catches the ball. That's good enough for me.
All right, the Lions have several guys who are becoming free agents on Wednesday. A couple of those guys could end up back with the Lions. They could end up finding new homes with other teams. A couple that stick out to me are Ricky Jean-Francois and Zach Zenner. What do you think happens with a couple of those guys?
Yeah, I think Ricky Jean-Francois might be more highly regarded around the league than maybe some people think here in Detroit, but he's a good, tough, strong guy, and I think he's got a role. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to look to fill that fourth, interior spot behind some of the guys that they got, Robinson, Hand, Harrison, and they're kind of looking for that fourth guy. Ricky Jean Francois filled that role really well last year, not only on the field but in the locker room. He's a good guy there.
Yeah.
But I could see them, in the market for that fourth guy. And to me, I think the way Zach Zenner transformed his body after being released, really bulked up, added the muscle, and I think that showed the second half of the season. He was really reliable there, and I think if you've got him as a number 2, number 3 option, that's certainly not a bad thing. He's a guy I could see them really, wanting to come back, not only because of that, but what he provides in terms of special
on special teams, yeah, absolutely. And plus, he even looked quicker. I think for whatever he did, whatever workout program he took when he was away from the team last year after being waived injured, whatever he did has worked. He looked quicker, he looked stronger, and more decisive with his cuts.
Any other names we should keep an eye on that are pending free agents that are current Lions, but come 4 p.m. on Wednesday will become free agents?
I want to see what happens to Ziggy Ansah. I really do. I just think in a certain role and whatever the price is, if they can fit him in and he can give you 5 sacks and he plays 10 or 12 games, I think it's worth it. But that's
no, that's one that I was kind of circling to, just to see what the market for
Yeah.
him will be. I think it'll be very interesting because there's no denying his talent, and if he can be a situational rusher or something like that, where he plays less snaps. But look, he's a very talented, individual edge rusher. The injuries obviously hurt him. It's going to be really interesting to see how other teams kind of value him, what the market is when this is all kind of said and done.
If you really look at his sacks per snaps, he averages out to about 1 a game. There's a place in football for a guy who gets 16 sacks a year. Now it's prorated or derated, whatever you want to call it.
Certainly. Well, guys, there will be plenty more to talk about once some more moves have been made official by the team. Remember, the start of the new league year doesn't begin until 4 p.m. on Wednesday, and then a lot of these moves will start to become official in the coming days after that. And trust us, we will have plenty more to talk about when those moves become official. Thanks, guys, so much for tuning in. For DetroitLions.com from Xfinity Studio, I'm Tori Petry.